Hi guys, welcome to Flip Lips with Brandy and Deshauna. This episode is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be interviewing Brandy, and today we are discussing a personal story for Brandy, and the title is Surviving a Married Man. All right, so with this story, let's just start from the beginning. How did this relationship start?
So I was working on a job, something I had never did before, dated on the job. And I was young, I was 25. And it's a few times like I've seen the guy around like, he cute, he handsome or whatever. Not expecting that, on off air, like away from the job. We were at Zulu at the ball. And
I remember.
and I laughed because I think about how immature I really was. And he came up to me, he had already got word that, okay, she crushing, so that was his opportunity. And girl, I never forget, it was a wall like this, it feel like a Zulu. And girl, he came by me and I slid down the wall.
Hiding?
Couldn't hide no one, but literally slid down the wall like a kid and was like, oh my God, like he in front of me. Like it was so, childish. But, I was like, he's so cute. That's what I thought. So that's how, and from that day on, for 10 years of my life, that it has always been him and I.
So initially, how did he, what was his approach?
I always say that this was very immature of me. I know that I was underdeveloped in these stages because when things really got serious, where I began to comprehend, like, okay, I gotta get out of this. I said, he didn't act like a married man. And that to me was one of the most immature statements you can ever make, because what does a married man
act like?
So he he had studied me really well, and I didn't realize how valuable I was and how underdeveloped I was emotionally as well. So when I asked him, I said, when I got wind that he was married, I said, because he never said anything, I said, are you married? He was like, yeah, casually. So I was like, well, I'm like, well, I don't know how long I can stand this, but in that moment, because that time frame wasn't a very long time frame that we were together. I want to say it was about a month, but that month was like so fun. Like we was just having so much fun. I'm like, I couldn't believe he was married, because we hung out so much. We'll be on the phone all day, and he was super cool, just knew how to, he was smooth. So if he go home at night, I ain't know no better, because we'll talk so late. He just lived the life that he wanted to live. However, it was easy for him to bake his cake, mix the ingredients, bake it, cook it, and eat me too. So with that being said, no, I don't mean it like that. I mean it like just eat all the cake. You know what I'm saying? He got this one over there, But with that being said, I thought that it was very challenging to walk away, because I was young. I was in survival with my 2 kids. It's not that I was so flat on my behind. I was learning how to develop my life. And I had very young kids. Then I want to say Milan was almost 2. My sons were like 7 and 8, And when I went to him and told him, he was like, well, I understand. And then like a couple hours later, he didn't understand. I'll do whatever it takes to keep you and blah, blah, blah. And one thing he used to always tell me, that's why words are very important. Especially when you're young, he would always say, as long as I wake up in the morning. And to me, that sounded good. Like, because when he got up in the morning, everything I wanted was done. It was just as simple as if he was bringing a kid somewhere or doing something with me, just whatever. We were together so much, which, you were there, you witnessed it. You wouldn't have known the difference. It wasn't like a hiding thing. We go to all the finest restaurants. We did everything.
Right.
We traveled. So at that point in my life, that's what I wanted. And when you look at, that's why I always go back to church. You see that sometimes as it is a facade in some spaces. They appear, oh, I'm the first lady, blah, 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 and they're driving nice cars, and we're in the church struggling. And so I say, that's what I got caught up in. Because he appeared to be this family man. Like once it got out, once it was understood at this point, he was like, he was living the American dream. And I was like, well, it's not that I wanted her life, because I really didn't, because I was much stronger, in my demeanor. I was young, it was different. So he hadn't already got down to the real poison of me. Where you become delusional at is when you think God sent you that man. That's when your mind is messed up at this point, and you start feeling like, oh, this too good to be true, blah, blah, blah. But when you realize God ain't had nothing to do with this, but he kept me through all of it. So that's where it started. And 10 years later, this is my reality that I am single. But we'll get deep into that.
So, as far as expectations, you talked about how things were so good in the beginning. Did you ever reflect on how things may have been at home for him and his family while y'all were out living a very good life?
Interesting enough, the most defining moments of my life was my son. The one I talked about earlier. He always was wise and plenty of sense. And he watched me more than I ever knew. I didn't even know I was being monitored. And he wrote me a letter. And in that letter, he said, how would? He named her. That's how much he was watching. I didn't even know that he knew her name. How would she feel? My reaction, because of therapy, because of understanding my child, and knowing that he had a voice then, still learning, I didn't get anger. When they said slow to anger, I didn't get angry. And I never forget that I read that letter. I still have it. And the things that he said in there, he went and did his homework. And he would Google everything to challenge you. You know that?
It's my nephew.
So, and it wasn't from a malicious place. It wasn't because he couldn't have his way this time and all of these things. It was like he told me, say, Mama, you beautiful. You don't have to live like this. But it still was, you're a child. Let me handle this. And my thing was in a delusion, which I really felt this way, and I still feel this way to this day. He treated me better than the relationship I came from. And he also was treating me better than some friends that were in relationships. All of the experiences. He just made me feel like this was really about me. So, it was confusing. I don't really have no point of direction, because at that moment I didn't have no point of direction. I just knew I wanted what was in front of me.
So was there ever any conflict, like with you and his wife?
Yeah. So when conflict came in, it was never about what he did. And I had to understand it and respect it, even though we have different perspectives. You have to understand how this person feels towards their commitment.
Correct.
And it was conflict because I was messing with her husband.
Right.
But when it came down to dealing with, I was the one being dealt with. One of the, it was like he never had accountability. You know what I'm saying? Which is very disturbing to families, because it's like, as long as we can go out and put up this image as the American family, the other woman looks like the bad person. When that other woman, me, if I had to put it on any other way, I was the person that he was taken from, because the things that he was missing, God revealed things to me in pieces. I possessed them. So you have to ask yourself, what is it about me that's so valuable that somebody in this situation wants to stay?
Right. And risk their whole family to be with you.
Because it was always the point of being able to put that person to the side, because how much I've damaged that person. I'm gonna just speak in general. I've damaged this person so bad I can show up in front of my woman, tell my wife down, but stand in front of this woman, but in the end, who really won? What is a win?
Right.
So, with that being said, she had every right. But I also believe in my heart that every woman and every human, male or female, has a level of accountability.
Absolutely.
Boundaries.
The husband and wife have the most accountability. You took the vows, you made the decision to become one, for better or worse, and to be faithful. Like, that was your responsibility to be faithful. Now, of course, if you insert yourself in somebody else's marriage, it doesn't make you 100% right, but you don't have the obligation to be loyal to either one of them. It's just a fact. It's not your fault. He pursued you. You know, you took part in it, but at the end of the day, you didn't take those vows. And I think that's what people need to realize, but even more so, everybody has to be accountable. Like, you're correct. You as well, but it's just a difference. You know, people always do put the blame on the other woman or the other man, and it's like, there's no accountability for the actual cheater.
And then sometimes you don't realize that cheater is highly manipulative, narcissistic behavior. Like, you know, I hate to use that word now because so many people use it so loosely, but it's a reality.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? It's a real thing. And it was disturbing because, again, this is where mental health comes into play. When your mind is being trained a certain way, you got to come from underneath it.
Yes.
So when you come from underneath it, you got to deal with that. Then you can be your full self.
Correct.
So I had to go through all of those stages to finally say, okay, this is not what I want for myself. This hurts. Because when you start any healing process, whether you were a single man, a married man, woman, whatever, when you walk away from that, before you walk away, you already have to build yourself up to walk away.
Correct.
So it's already hard to walk away. You know what I'm saying? So now that you build up the courage to walk away, now you're walking, but you're still shaky.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And then you got somebody to draw you in, you know, and that was the turning point.
That was my next question. So what clicked in your mind to be like, this is enough? Was it an event that happened? Was it a feeling inside of you? Was it just one day you woke up and like, I can't do this anymore? Was it like a bunch of events that led up to that? You know how some people have a breaking point, like, this is enough. Right. Or sometimes it's a slow, gradual process, and then eventually you get to the finish line.
So it was a bunch of emotions, because again, I feel things. And most times my intuition was right. However, when he did separate, we was over here because that's what it was. But one of the other defining moments is when I saw my name in the paperwork. And I said, wow, I was like, this don't feel good, this don't look good. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I don't want to do this no more. I said, everything about the assets, but I'm the problem. Not he did nothing, but I had to be used as bait fish or that push of a threat. Because truthfully, it's a threat for a long time. Because everybody like, oh, I don't want to leave. I'm not going to let this young girl win. You know, everybody going through emotions. And I'm saying, whoa, I ain't leaving. Because he's telling me one thing and he's showing me one thing. But over there was a whole nother story.
Totally different picture being painted.
I was painted as a person. If we had to talk about, because you're saying painted, I was painted as a person that irresponsible. Needy. I was damn near a charity case and didn't even know it.
Right.
Oh my God. Oh, never threatened to kill myself.
Mentally unstable.
Mentally unstable. I was all of these things that I never knew, so that he can continue to live this life. Oh, I gotta be with her because of this. I gotta be with her because of that.
She crazy.
She crazy.
I
She's
try to
gonna
leave
try
her
to
alone.
hurt us, hurt the children. And I'm like, now, granted, I'ma stand my ground. Ain't nobody gonna play with me. But at the end of the day, because I have this posture and demeanor about myself, it was used in a whole nother realm. It wasn't used for the reality. It was used to paint a picture of me, a facade, you know. And that, I think, hurted me the most, because I didn't know that. So when people would have to come into my space, they dealt with me in a violent, or wanted to deal with me in a violent way, because they figured that I was going to be the aggressor. Let me flip this on her. Let me make her the problem. So when you don't know that, it's damaging. It's hurtful, because this person could lay beside you and tell you all the beautiful things, take you all around the world, make you feel like you the one.
And
if I wake
totally
up
against you.
in the morning, you're gonna have this, and life is gonna go like that. And it did. But all the other parts of me were broken, mentally unstable, at a point where my mind is being played with. That's when I became mentally unstable, because of you. Not because of
Not prior to.
I'm just deranged and
Right.
I want your husband and
Right.
all of these things.
It's
I
the
remember
emotional
that day,
abuse.
Piggying back on when you said, did you have any encounters with the wife? Even when he called her up and he told her, he said, well, you know, because I had enough. I said, listen, it ain't going to be me, you and your wife no more. This is it. I'm tired of the lies. You're going to call me. She was so terrified. I said, we can all meet and we can get it out. He was ready. She was, I'm not coming because y'all going to try to hurt me. What? I'm like, what? And those moments made me start thinking, like, what is he
What are you
telling
telling, right?
people? And he said, you know, said everything, which I'm not going to get into, because I want to make sure that my intentions are good. I don't want to be malicious.
Right.
I want this story to allow another woman, another person, to never walk across those waters. If they say they're married, wait till they get a divorce.
Yes.
If they're in a relationship, leave them alone.
Yes.
Just a relationship. If they've been out of relationship less than a year, tell them no.
Yes.
I'll wait for you. Are you in therapy? Oh, let's do this together. You know, even if you're feeling them and he been gone a year, well, maybe we need to seek some therapy together. Maybe we need to get to know each other for real, in depthness.
Right.
You know, so with that being said, I can tell you that the damage that is caused over the personal gain is far more worse than the mental, the heart, because those things, it stays broken for quite some time. You don't know when you're gonna heal, and to be here in this state of mind, to be able to talk about it, I know that I'm healed, and I tell them all the time, I'm healing, because when these things occurred, it was all good as long as I was getting my way. So I had to take my hit for it. And I had to realize that had I not allowed myself to do what? Go through the what?
Process, friend.
That I can't.
Skip, friend.
That I always.
Want to skip, friend. Try to skip, friend.
And I didn't understand it. It's a lot of simple words you don't understand.
Boundaries.
Until you are actually in it and you need it and you need to apply it to your life. So that's where we at with that one.
So I'm going to speak from the perspective of your friend and your process. So I remember a lot of times, you know, like we all go through relationships or your makeup and your breakup. So, you know, you had a lot of those moments in this relationship. And that's what you wanted to do every time, skip the process. And it never worked. And it always left you way more damaged every time because you wanted to skip the process. And it was so hurtful to see. It really was. And it was hurtful because you really tried. And it really didn't happen for you. But I knew that it would. if you go through the process, but you were like, you know, it's not realistic to cut a person off. Like, you have to face it head on. And like we talked about before, you're not going to always get that closure that you're expecting. And that was the thing. I think that you were expecting it to go this way or that way. You leave your wife, we be together, we move on with our life, or you leave me and you go on. But it didn't happen like that, because through the process, it's still going to be some back and forth until you have to be let go. And I think that because you attempted to skip the process so much, God had to deal with you. And he had to make you go through the whole process, deal with every single emotion, and I think that he revealed to you exactly how you were being painted and exactly how you were being viewed, and you were able to like really step back and be like, no. And I was so proud that you stood up for yourself. You didn't let it tear you down. You had your emotional moments, as you should, but you really showed up every time for yourself. And it was very empowering to watch, because I've seen you so low in a situation. So to see you get up and put your scarf on with your glasses and show up and like, I'm by myself and I'm still going to show y'all that it's not the picture that he painted. Like, I'm a good mother. I run a successful business. I'm a great friend. I'm a great person. And regardless of how y'all may look at me, this is who I am. And I'm here for myself. And you did what you were supposed to do. And I want to talk about your process of healing. Like, from the time, it was like maybe like 2 years ago when you were really fed up. Actually, before I even moved to Austin, because I remember you having to sleep at my house every night, laying across my bed because you didn't want to go home and be alone. Like, it was a lot. Like, y'all were very intertwined. Like, he was a very major part of your life. Like, I've watched very good times with y'all, you know, and I've watched some very dark times. So it's not to take anything away from that. Y'all did have a pretty solid relationship. Y'all definitely,
heavy.
definitely. And, you know, it was a lot for you. So let's talk about the moment.
That's why I call this here. I'm very big on evidence. This is Court. I call her, we more like sisters, but I call her my spiritual leader. Mm-hmm. She was there for me when I wasn't there for myself. When I did not understand how broken I was. And I never forget, I was searching so hard that I was coming out Barnes and Noble, and we used to do business together. And I hadn't seen her in a while, and she had her kids and I had mine. And she said, "Oh girl, what you got in the bag? What you reading?" I said, "The Seed of the Soul." And I didn't know that she had a gift in her life. And she began to speak things to me that she knew nothing about. And I was like, damn, you know. And so I always had a number, and we kind of reconnected and started talking. And it took all of 2 or 3 years before I actually got it. And through that process, you were a friend. I slept at your house. You talked me off the ledge of, you know, reacting in a way like, don't address it. Sometimes, one thing you used to always say, you got bigger fish to fry.
Definitely.
You redirected my focus. You allowed me to know and see, both of you guys, that there was light at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. And the most powerful thing about Court, I didn't understand, like, all the therapy that I did and all the churches I visited, all of the hopping, call it church hopping. Nobody could stand in front of me and give me what was so broken about me, what stuff that she knew. You didn't touch my head so many times at the altar, but this, she didn't even touch me. Mm-hmm. She didn't even touch me, and she told me everything that was going on in my life, and I was like, sure enough, the same gift that she had. And when they say birds of a feather flock together, I never understood that. She'll always pick on me and say, you think you're a damn prophet, blah, blah. You know, because some of the shit I used to say was real, all of the times. You know, I made my delivery may not have been all that it needed to be. And I started picking more up on things about me, my gift and who I was, what I was weak at emotionally. That was one of my weakest points. And interesting enough, I journaled. I joined a holistic healing wellness center, which I still attend. I go to a water yoga aerobics sometimes because I'm scared of swimming and all of that. But I put a lot of time into things like holding on to the rail because I'm scared. I'm afraid to swim. Going in a meditation room. Connecting and disconnecting when I have to, unlearning. And I promise God in this process, because the shiner will be heavy on me about not skipping the process. And I promise God, I say, God, I don't want it to be covered with work. I don't want this mask with work. I want to walk through this fire. And I walked through that fire, and I never forget, me and my daughter was at the restaurant. And he came and he walked in there. I'm like, oh Lord. And he comes showing me the paper, January 6th, you know, is this and that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give him a chance. God said. So I wanted to believe everything he had to say. And when I say everything came out, everything came out. I was being recorded so that could go for him, his good. Because a man don't want to lose nothing. So when you think that it's all about you, I was just a fun toy. See, you got to know your role. I was the fun toy.
The escape.
The escape from reality. Because I always used to say, and you know this, he could be himself around me. You ain't got to put on no suit. You ain't got to show up as super daddy. And I thank him. Because I know what it all means now. I ain't mad. I'm not angry. I'm not anything. But I'm going to take it home, and I'm going to let D take me home with it. Because I do want you to express the process. And then we'll take it home. We'll drive it home.
Yeah, I want to hear her talk about the support that she had to give you throughout and the challenges that we both, I'm sure, faced as being your friend and seeing you hurting but still having to be honest with you. Like, it was a process for me, so I'm pretty sure it was times where you really wanted to hug her but you couldn't. You had to be like, girl, listen, you got bigger fish to fry.
Well, when you look at the word healing, people think healing is something they can be in hell for 33 years and at the moment in a twinkling of an eye they're getting out of it. That's the magic of religion. But when you actually go through something and you suffer and you don't understand why you're suffering. I saw somebody suffering. And even though made up, beautiful, the cry of our heart reaching, you see something ain't right there. Something is amiss. And because the gifting that I have to peek into people's soul without damaging them, without needing anything from them.
Correct.
But just to be a corrector of their direction. And like that direction is not going to lead you to the result you want. And sometimes when you're in these relationships, I've dealt with multiple women that was in these relationships and seeing the fight that they have and even seeing them kind of turn on me. Because you always try to hurt the one that really loves you. Because the one that appears to love you just gave you so much more than that correction. And you don't realize you're being feeded, you're just being a parasite. You're just feeding off of you as the host. And then the parasite's giving you something to keep you around. You're not staying there because you're dumb or you're ignorant. They make the fool out of the best of us.
Okay.
They're not looking for something simple.
Absolutely.
They want something to tear down. And spiritually speaking, if I didn't go through it myself, I couldn't have compassion on her. I wouldn't have known the process of going back and forth and seesaw and up and down. And even though she was on that ship, I still have to hold on to her. Because if I let her go, she's going to die. And not just die physically.
Right.
Emotional death, there's no coming back from that.
Correct.
That's when you enter into realms of psychopathy and schizophrenia. And having my own sister love a man so much that she didn't even know herself. To where schizophrenia took over her and killed her. He didn't have to kill her, she killed herself. And to see another woman go through that. And these men out here, because of their religious beliefs, that we should submit to a force that we don't even question our parents, just submit, obey, and nobody judge if they're deranged or insane or lunatics.
Right.
And so that type of spirit kept getting passed on. I said, Brandy, you're better than that. Spiritually, you're better than that. And I had to hold on to Brandy because I could see her trying to, I got to win this. And that's the spirit they give you. They want you to compete with the wife.
Right.
Because then they don't have accountability. Y'all can fight over me.
Right.
I'm the prize. And say, Brandy, this ain't something you want to win. It's almost like I want to go to hell. And I'm going to fight to go to hell. When God has so much more for on this side.
Yes.
And being prophetic, I could see into the realm to where, oh God, wow, that's where you wanted to be at? Why she didn't see that? And to correct people from their error. The scripture says a wise man wins souls. And it hasn't been easy. I've been attacked and, you think you this and that. And to be the person to stand up there and take that lick because you know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say something so precious and so unique, created in the image and likeness of God. And because nobody should really direct us and be the parent of the soul. We have physical parents, but the parents of the soul is a whole other game. I couldn't give up on Brandy. And when I heard what almost happened to her, I had to stop talking to Brandy because she don't understand I don't have friends, I have family. And not physically, nature. And when I heard it, I was so upset. I said, she lost her life. And everything she established in the community and everything that was her would have been washed away for that. Her entity. I couldn't talk to Brandy for a minute. I had to drive in my car. And I had to pray for her and I had to pray for me. Because I'm so attached to people. I don't take people love and like, I don't take anything lightly. Because it's a life and death. It's about the tongue. And to see her kind of come out of it very slowly but surely, I knew, I said, God, you're going to have to give me patience to endure this again. Because I've done this so many times with so many women. And seeing them coming out just powerful like that. I say the winners, they are shit. See, we don't get that. We want them to suffer. We want them to be bleeding on the street. Yeah, that's what I want. But the real win is they lost hold to you. When the children of Canaan was escaping bondage, it's like, man, we should go back to that. We had garlic. We had all this wonderful stuff. Why are you bringing us
comfortable
to this place? Because I'm trying to take you back home.
Gotta go through the process, though.
And we don't know. I'd rather be back in that bondage than be free. But like the scripture said, who the Son set free is free indeed. And when you really come into your power, you can lay in yourself and you can own it. I went through that out of ignorance. I didn't go through that willingly. Now, some of us do.
Yeah.
Because some of us are self-deceived. And that's the worst type of ignorance and that we have is self-deception. Thinking we're going to win, but you're really losing yourself.
Yes.
What does it profit you to gain the world?
To your soul. That's it right there.
That we could afford to lose. We could afford to lose. So God's like, I want Brandy. I'm like, what you want Brandy for? You say she loyal. And she could be loyal to that. She knows she could be loyal to me.
One thing my friend gonna do is give God all the glory. And I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm just being honest. Like, I'm not a deep down praying person. Like, I have my own battles with religion and all that stuff. So it's something I go through all the time. But I know that my friend is so connected to God. So I had to go to God for her. It was plenty of times like I had to pray for her because I know that's who she's connected to. And I'm not gonna lie, she stressed me out a lot. I'm about to cry too. Because it was so scary to know what the outcome could have been. Not just that last incident, but it was several incidents that I had to be on the phone all the way in Texas, like, turn your car around.
Yeah.
It's not that serious.
Right.
Like, this is gonna be the outcome if you do that. You know, you have kids, you have a business, like, you have so much more.
And you know what was interesting? Yeah.
Yes.
The interesting part about all of it was, I remember, like, after I was trying to, you know, I got out of it, and I would start dating, and guys would be like, well, where you come from? And you used to always, you don't tell them nothing.
Oh, Lord, she tell her business too much.
And she would always say to me, you don't owe them that.
Right.
And they would tell me that, you know, one guy was like, and I'm talking about, I be having some potential sometimes. Some of them I'm happy I told them that so they could get around me. Because I don't be really ready. You know, I be having these little, you know, they be what I need, but then I be like, let me look at your fingers. Something gonna drive me away. But it's all a part of the process of
Fulfilling, not the fulfillment.
Yeah. And so I, you know, so I never forget one of the guys said, you just don't look like that type of person. Goes back to what a married man look like.
Right.
I'm like, no, like, this is my story.
I'm a human.
And I begin to, and you know, y'all may not understand, but a lot of times I talk to people is because that's my healing. I'm able to own it, to do this. To come in front of the camera and be like, I want to save somebody else's soul from going into this. Because what I thought was all fun and games almost ended my life.
Yeah.
Literally.
Literally.
For sure. So if you can talk to the Brandy at 25 when you met him, or another woman who is entering into that type of situation and will end it on this, what advice besides, oh girl, don't do that? Like, I just want you to break it down, like, why shouldn't I do that? I think that's a lesson that people need to know. It's not, when you're teaching your kids, it's not don't touch that. It's don't touch that because it's hot and it can hurt you. Like, you have to really get into the why you shouldn't do these things, because I've watched the entire relationship, and yes, it had good times, and yes, you know, you got a lot of things from it and a lot of experiences from it, but the damage that it caused you, it trumps all of the things that you feel were gained from that positively. Because to lose your sanity or to lose your life is not that serious for any relationship. So if you had to talk to your younger self or another woman in a situation, like, why is it not a good idea to do something like that?
It's not a good idea because it's a delusion. It's where you are saying, I'm going to put myself aside for someone else's happiness. Because all of your happiness goes out the door. It's an illusion. Because there is someone out there for me, for you. Someone that can love you, care for you, may not be what you have made up in your mind, but is much more damaging to walk into the space of someone else, emotionally, mentally, financially, because that means you sacrificing everything about you for that, and for that someone. And sometimes you got to know how to go without and wait on your own, because it's much more valuable. You are much more valuable to yourself and other people when you are living in your truth. Because many times, you know, even though I would be sitting in a restaurant and be like, you know, and I'm telling you, everywhere I went, we would go together. I was passing up a potential because I was with him. And he would say stuff like, well, that's my wife. And those kind of things started clicking with me, like, if he could disrespect that, what else? You know what I'm saying? I started to say, if he treat this like that, then what is being done and said to me. And it gets deeper than this. This is just some of the things that I choose to share, but it gets worse. I would tell a young girl to know the difference between your daddy, not having a daddy, and being okay with the daddy that God placed in your life. Because even though my dad was a valuable piece in my life, when I missed him, I chose him. Because I wanted that fulfillment. I wanted to feel loved. I wanted what was missing. Not to mention, I never confused the two. Because my daddy was loving. He didn't touch me inappropriate or anything like that. But there was so many desires in this space. So you come back to reality really, really fast. But when you are seeking certain things, you're missing, and just wanting that comfort, we tend to go underneath what we love. So I would tell that person to know the difference. Honing with self. I never forget when I was going through this process, I looked for things. I would jump on a computer. How to get rid of a married man. Oh, girl, I wanted out.
Not a recipe.
All right, please. I put backpack for real. Man, I was doing it, and that was one of my names. Y'all knew that, what everybody called me. Anyway, but seriously, I would put so much on my shoulders within myself because I really wanted out so bad. And nobody else knew. They think I wanted to be in this. So I'm showing up. And I was like, I want out. You know what I'm saying? So I started Googling and search. So I hope that somebody out there on YouTube, somebody out there on Instagram, or whatever outlet we have now where people are living in facades, I want them to know that I literally survived a married man, although it almost took my life. And I'll explain how it took my life, just following, any other follow-up questions or anything y'all may have for me.
Well, Brandy, what part of you that you felt that relationship hindered you in developing into the woman you want to be versus the woman he was grooming you to be? Like, what part of you was damaged by that relationship?
The need to have all the things that I felt was valuable to me.
Like emotional
things, and emotions too. Like, I didn't want to be left alone. I was attracted to the lifestyle I was provided. I was attracted to, the laughs, the fun, all the things that really didn't matter. It played a small percentage. Right. But those things were scaling me back. And I'm gonna tell you how and this is for somebody out there. Every time I would leave, would have happened.
Yes, super blessed.
Every time.
Every single time. We talked about it every single time. And I tried to use that a lot of times in my advice to you to show you.
I could do it.
Every time that you talked about going back, and I'm like, friend, like, you left and God sent you so much. Why you want to go back? But I think it was also part of the manipulation and part of the lifestyle that he afforded you for so long. It was scary to think that I have to walk out on my own, and yeah, God did bless me this time, but how I'm going to handle this, and this. I got all of this to take care of, and I know for sure he take care of it. And it was like, damn, every time she I be like, and here we go again.
It was a cycle, and it was a bad pattern. And when I realized that was the pattern of my behavior, I worked and I fought hard in that area. And I tell people to this day, I share this with y'all all the time. I say, I didn't get a luxury vehicle to say, oh, I'm better than somebody, or I got this and I got that. That was one of the things that I would always say I wanted. And when I surrendered, I didn't go on a lot. I didn't do nothing. All I did was call and picked up my truck. And it had nothing to do with, oh, I want to this, that, and the third. And I tell my kids all the time, I waited 19 years to even get something on that level. I was a child when I had y'all. This is the lifestyle I like to live. But now, 10 years later, in almost a year, it's been a year, and some months out of this, everything that I really, really wanted, that I felt like I couldn't attain, God gave it to me.
On your own.
On my own. And
what I tell you all the time.
Major bills I could have been did on my own.
It feels better.
In fact, I created more bills. But it feels better to get up and grind. And when I go broke, God had me in these stages where it's like, I need you to trust me. And I know this time, I want you to know it's me. It's me. It's me. When you were standing in the need of prayer, it was me. My grandmother used to always sing that song. It's me, oh God, standing in the need of prayer. But I never understood then what those words really meant. And now I'm like, God, I know it's you. I don't shake no more. I understand when I got to go through the process. Sometimes stuff just happen and I be like, dang, you really was listening to me. You know, so God kept me even though this picture was painted of me. I came codependent on somebody else's words. Actions too, but it starts with the tongue.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's the best way I could put that.
And then too, just to recognize that it takes a village of women
Absolutely.
that are mature enough to see something, and that's where we feel that as a community that the women go through things and they don't want to educate the younger woman. In a sense, we just don't do it. But not saying what was the repercussion that you went through, what damaged your ability to be self-sufficient and a great mom. What did you go through? And to be vulnerable and open up your heart and let people know your failures and let them see, because everybody paint a picture. You're holier than now.
All perfect.
Right. And like I tell her, we already are perfect. I mean, I'm pretty image and like God, I'm perfect. I mean, I have perfect knowledge. And our whole pursuit is to get that perfect knowledge. You're never going to be anything else but what you are.
Correct.
That's perfected. But getting a perfect knowledge of who you are, that's when you become a son and daughter. Not religion, daughters, heirs. And she was mixing out on who she really was for facade of who she was. Like religion, you could be this, you're not that. We all going back to our truth.
And I think that's the lesson that you and I both taught her in her process, is that you're just better than this. Like, this is not what God has for you. You always call on God. You always recognize God. And you think that God will let you settle for that type of situation? Like, you think that's what he has for you?
Yes.
You got to know better.
Because God is truth. And truth can't be played with. It stands alone. It can't be judged. It is the judge. So if you're saying you're dealing with God, you're saying I'm dealing with truth. And anything outside of truth is a lie.
Correct.
You could try to make it semi-true.
Yes.
But the truth won't tolerate it. You can't enter into truth until you are real and raw. And Brandy had to face herself.
Absolutely.
She had to face the woman in the mirror. And I just see the look and all the trinkets. Deep into her true self, where she was not developed in her emotional self. She had to mature that and say, wow, that's what I'm missing them on. Just in her maturity level. Because that relationship would never allow her to touch that true side of herself.
Correct.
Ooh, been through it.
So, in ending, I would just like to say that I am very, very proud of you.
That's right.
You won. Like, it's over with. You won. Like, you made it to the finish line. You worked on our nerves, but it's very rewarding to see that you didn't skip the process. And I love to see you happy and dating. Like, I love to laugh at everything that we have going on. Like, I'm just grateful for where we are as women and as friends, and it just feels good to see your friends happy. Like, that's the ultimate goal. When you wake up every day, like, you want your friends to be happy and make you happy. When you hurting, I'm hurting. So now that you're not hurting no more and you happy, I would rather you work on my nerves with all this stuff you have going on now. Drama, like, we haven't had any dramatic things go on in a year in neither one of our lives. Like, that's amazing.
Give me a hug.
Welcome to the promise.
Now you're so gay. But I love you so much, friend. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Now, I will say in closing that you got anything you want to say? I danced all around the most hurtful part, and that was losing my life. And I danced around it because it was the end of everything. And God had to pretty much say, you ain't gonna move, so I'm gonna help you move. And he literally took my feet off the floor because I didn't have the strength. He knew that I was strong enough to deal with this, but I couldn't make the move. I wasn't strong enough. So this particular day, I'm gonna sum it up as fast as I can. He had then took my daughter, so the hairdresser came early that morning, everything. I'm thinking I'm believing everything he had then told me, just everything. But God didn't let me rest. It's like a pain in your chest. And even though I was going, to meet him for certain things of my own reason and all of these great things, when we did meet up, and I was in his territory, which wasn't a problem because he's supposed to be a single man and people just there temporarily. But I told God these one things because I just always would feel uneasy even when I would go around there. I say, God, protect me. I used to always say that. I say, God, protect me, because I already know in my mind that the truth wasn't there. So I go and I pull on the corner, and he comes to the corner to see what I want because I just didn't feel comfortable. And then when I did pull up, the wife outside and the daughter. So he comes see what I want. There's few little interactions happened before that, but the wife went inside to call the mama. Mama come out the door. No argument, no nothing. You dead, pretty much. Whether she didn't pull a trigger, but he jumped in front of it in time, even if she was gonna pull a trigger, because you don't know. That's why I never get bigoted and say, oh, she didn't shoot, she was scared, she just was stunting. No, like that it could have killed him. I was in my car, but the bullet could have came through the window. And in that moment, because I am crazy enough to sit there for a second and be like, is this really happening? You know what I'm saying? But then you got to think about everything. If I make this move, I'm going to jail. I'm going to be fighting for my life behind bars to prove that I came around here with right to come around here, right? So I said no. So I called a good friend of mine, and she told me these words. She said, Brandy, you've been through enough with these people. She said, you let them do you enough, and you did enough. She said, it's time for you to walk away. I said, she said, you're going to go to the district and you're going to file a report. She said, because enough is enough. She said, you about to lose your life. So I still was stunned, and she said, you're going to go to the district. She said, you go up the street. So I did that. They arrested his mom and stuff, for what she did. But when you got to take and your mama go to prison, when you got to take and you ain't got no consequences still, and your mama standing up on your behalf, because guess what? Money has always been in the front of everything and control. Those two things, if I could tell any person out there watching, you don't have to have control that bad, and you don't need the money that bad. I promise you, God is real. And when that happened, to get back to the point, when I decided to go to that station, you know what I said? I said, this is it.
That had to be it.
I said, this is the end, right here. And when I tell you, you go through so many emotions, I said to myself, they took him from me. They didn't take him from me. I had to really come to understand that I had to tap into my mental health. to say, no, they didn't take him from me. It was because to me, it felt like they forced him away. Because I'm going to go to this extreme. I'm going to kill this motherfucker before she take my son from his family. But she did me a favor. And the most defining moment when we were in court, and I had already told y'all, I told my friend, I said, I don't want nothing to happen to her. I just wanted to let her know she going to go through this process and she ain't going to do this no more because her son did a lot of damage.
It's the problem.
Here's the thing. I got so much respect for this judge. I won't even mention his name. But that's a man. He let court, he said, object, sustain. Because he needed to hear the story too. Because he had to figure out what was going on. But I respected him. And although I fought her tooth and nail, I was really making the lawyer work because I wanted to let him know. This how y'all play with people's lives. I could have lost my life if I was, on the other end, over a man. My whole life could have went left if I would have decided to come back and retaliate or whatever. And the judge stood up, and because guess what? This the hurting part. He was gonna testify against me on the behalf of his mother.
And
so
lie.
all the witnesses had to go outside the door. So when it was time to read, the verdict and everything, the judge said, such and such. We want him in here. Go call him. First, he was going off on the front because he thought it was him. He come in there, he's suave. Get out my courtroom. In fact, get out the courthouse and don't you ever come back. Before he could reach the door, he told him, no man. He ain't no man. No man. Loud in front of the whole courtroom. I felt humiliated, so I know what he felt. He said, no man put their woman, their children, their wife, and your mama in the mix of your stuff. He said, not guilty. You know how people say something to you without saying it? He pretty much, excuse my French. Bitch, you ain't dead. You play a part in this. So I'm going to let this lady slide, but I need to let her know her son ain't shit. And you shouldn't even be putting yourself in this position. And he said that without saying it. Just like so many other days, y'all said it without saying it. And I had to go home and feel it. So I really thank y'all for allowing me to express this moment of truth in my life, because I want to save somebody else to survive. If they in it, they could survive this married man. If they bulking up on it, I'm about to save you too. Because this is real. And it get that bad. And I appreciate y'all for everything that y'all have done. Nothing went unnoticed. And y'all know that. I've expressed it. I've shown it. And I wanted to prove to y'all that I can do it. Although I know that I give God all the credit because he paved that way. Like he heard y'all cries. He heard y'all cries because y'all were right there with me. And every time I walked in court, I walked by myself.
Indeed.
I ain't bring no family for a whole year. Because I said I went in this by myself. But let me take that back. I'm lying. I brought my son to let them know I have nothing to hide. One time, when my son came up in college, I said, son, I want you to come with me to court. I said, because and he didn't know. But I wanted them to know my children, I hide nothing. I'm not living in no facade. I share these moments with them because when I close my eyes, or when shit get real with me, my children always say, my mama didn't hide nothing. My mama lived her life. We learned from my mother. She may not have made all the decisions that we wanted her to make, but my mama was a warrior.
For sure.
That's it. That's all I got.
Good job, friend.